All right. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Whoopsie daisy. I'm starting a wee bit late. But here we go. I gotta try to get everything all started up. Load this. Start that. Full screen this. Calibrate that. Oh, jeez, that's not what I meant to click on. Please start. Ah, there we go. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Wow, 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 wow. Okay. I got that loaded up. I hope the music's not too loud. No. It's the usual volume. Oh, my notes. Uh-oh. Okay. Check. 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 Alrighty. So this is just the time in the beginning where I get things started up. And I think I'm good to go. Ooh, this is fast. I'm getting used to this. Oh, I forgot to write something. Whoopsie daisy. Let's just scoot that right there. Oh, geez, no, not the flickering. Okay. Test, test. What if I close these things? Will that help? Oh, I'm live. That's always a surprise. Okay. Vtutoring live if you want to. Okay, so like usual, right? Today's the day where I'm opening this time up to VTutor. Anyone who wants to come by and needs help, hopefully with math, hopefully with some that I can help with. Please not derivatives. But if that's the case, then hey, I'll do what I can. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay. But until that happens, and until I get the word out for more people to come by and, you know, ask questions and do things, the plan for today is to, let's see, where is it? To continue last week's discussion on interest. Oh, interest. Because it's really interesting. Oh, I'm so funny. Okay. So, let's see. So today, for interest, we are going to talk about interest that does not quite work in your favor. So last week was more about interest in ways that does work in your favor, where money can compound and help you out. Primarily with things like a savings account, high yield savings account, and bonds. Now, quick disclaimer, some of the math that I did last week was incorrect. I forgot to scoot over a couple decimals to get the right numbers, and also I really lowballed the amount that a high-yield savings interest account can really generate. I think last time I said, you know, a bank savings account was like 0.000 something ridiculous small number. I was close, but I was just a little bit off. And for high-yield savings account, they actually go into the single digits sometimes, which can be really cool, right? Normally it's like very low digits for the first maybe 10 or 50,000, or maybe, you know, first 100. Depends on the account, right? They're all different and crazy. But then some of them, they actually go up to, I think, as high as like 2 or 3%, which is a big deal. So just a quick correction there on that. I'm sorry. I make mistakes. Bonds are still great though. But now we're going to go into the other kinds of interest that, again, is not that good. It doesn't work in your favor. And we're going to start with the very popular student loans. Now, again, college is great if you like it, and OANS. And taking out a loan to do what you want, like to go to school, graduate school, med school, law school, whatever, you know, this is an investment in your future income. So it is usually, and rightfully so, seen as like a worthwhile loan, a worthwhile investment. It's worth it to take this out. Technically though, the interest is something that's on the loan, which means that it will cost more over time. Now, this is the least egregious version of this sort of thing where you can have to get a loan. It has interest that does not work in your favor, and the payoff outweighs, the benefits usually outweigh the costs over a long enough time frame. So this is the nicest kind of, I guess, bad interest that you can get. And I'll go over the other kinds, because again, there's more egregious, more worse forms of interest that you can encounter in almost like an everyday setting. And I'll go over that in a bit. But for now, I'll start with just student loans. So, student loans, there's usually two different types. There is public, and there's private. And when looking at student loans, it's important to look at both. Now, a public loan in the US of A, so USA, is a government kind of loan, right? Like FAFSA. And I know the school year is just starting, so maybe this isn't something that's on a lot of people's mind. But again, it's just, I think it's important to talk about, just at least for the archives, but also for anyone who's interested in the future for maybe going back to school, going to school starting the winter semester, or winter quarter, whatever it's called. I don't know. Or is it the spring? I think they call it the spring one, because... anyways, point is, there's the government, and there's FAFSA, and there's also, well, I should also add another option. Free money. Because that's also things like grants, programs, just to kind of be, you know, thorough with all the options. And I think there's probably one more I'm missing. And then private is like a bank, specialty lender. I forgot what they're called, but let me just put in lender for now. Alright. So, when looking at student loans for higher education, these are kind of the options you got. And when it comes to interest, generally, even though this is kind of a different thing, grants and programs, it's 0% interest. Which is nice. It's usually just like maybe a one-time, you can think of it like just like, it's not quite free money, because you usually have to earn it. You have to be part of a program, you have to apply for a grant, you have to put in some kind of work, you have to send some kind of statement or paper application, but it's still pretty good, right? But because it's usually, you know, not money that you have to pay back, it's not technically a loan, it's just something that they give, we're not going to quite cover that because this has 0% interest. What we're really interested in is public and private. And so for public, from some of the numbers, just to kind of ballpark I've seen, the interest would be something like 6% to 9%. And for private, it can vary anywhere between 2% to 18%. That's a lot. Now, I don't know how much college costs now. I'm gonna guess something like $100,000. Again, making up numbers, right? Just kind of to have it as an example. But let's say, for example, if you're getting a 4-year college degree, let's see, 4 years of college. And it's going to cost this much amount, okay? So this is the number that you're looking at. This is what you might be thinking, and realize, well, that's a lot of money. And again, it varies, right? Some of this is for, like, housing, I think. If you stay on campus. Some of this is for the class themselves. So, what does a school building look like? Kind of like a big square building. Lots of windows. I don't know. Some of this is for things like books. Some of this might just be for food. I guess I'll go with a drumstick. Something like that. I should never do that. Let's draw like an apple, some grapes. Yeah, I guess it's a cornucopia. Funny that. Okay. And so this will be the total cost of looking at your budget for the school year, right? And you gotta wonder, okay, so I'm gonna take out a loan, I have to pay it back, and here are the interest rates. So, you also might be wondering, well, wow, some of these, this looks kind of crazy, right? 2%, that looks amazing. Yay. 18%, that looks awful. And 6%, you're kind of wondering, 9%, it seems kind of middling, right? It's in between somewhere. Now, even though just looking at these numbers, it might seem that a private loan for higher education would benefit you. But as far as interest is concerned, and also the loan payment process itself, the repayment process itself, this is actually a bit deceptive, where in reality, even with the higher amounts at a base amount, the public loans usually outweigh the private loans in terms of benefits, in terms of other reasons. So let's say, for example, you get a 30-year? Let's say 30-year. No. Let's say it's just a loan, right? And we'll take the high number on this 9%, and we'll also do 9% here. because that's kind of the average of the two, and I kind of want to keep them as close as possible. So let's do 9% for here, 9% here. And you got $100K $1,000. $100K $100,000. Yeah. Okay. So the amount that you think that you'd have to pay, again, depends, because some of these loans have other things to them. Normally it's not just one loan that you get for $100,000. It's maybe a series of loans. And for this one, there might have something called variable interest rates. But let's focus on here. So, no, how do I put this? Let's say, for example, generally, the public loans are fixed interest. Okay, this is more important. And this is variable interest. Generally. Again, if you can find a deal that works for you, go for it. But the reason why to know the distinction between these two is that it makes the numbers more wibbly wobbly. So for fixed interest is 9% always. But for variable interest, then it can vary anywhere between any number they want. And let's just give them back their original numbers, anywhere between 2% to 18% interest rate. And if you start off with 9% here, then you're looking at, let's say, for example, it goes up in just a year, right? Yeah. I don't know if this would happen, but if you do 9, I'll keep writing the same numbers over and over again. Okay, let's not do that. Now let's just say, for example, the 9% of 100K. There we go. This is much better. Arrows. So let me bust out the old trusty calculator. Times point. So the interest on, let's say, the first year would be 9,000. Okay. And let's say the interest for here for the first year can be anywhere between, well, I guess that's kind of easy math, isn't it? Well, I didn't even need the calculator. 2,000 to 18,000. And this stacks on top of the loan. So in total, you're looking at 109K here. Now again, maybe it's not like a year. Maybe it doesn't, interest isn't calculated in a year. Maybe maturity date. What am I saying? Not maturity date. Maybe the loan has the interest paused for a certain amount of time. Maybe it can be deferred. There's a lot of ways in which you don't have to pay that 9K that same year. But for this example, let's just pretend that it goes up per year, this interest rate, right away. So it becomes 109K. And let's say for here, it becomes anywhere between 102K to 118K. And you might think, well, if I can just keep this 102K forever, that would be great. But unless you read the fine print, that's usually how they get you, where maybe they might say, oh yeah, it's 102 for the first year or a couple of years, and then it slowly ramps up into 18%. And that can add up, whereas here it's a fixed interest rate, so it's always predictable. So you always know the amount that you have to get. And over time, with that interest rate, during the halfway mark, when it's halfway paid, you might be a bit behind here, number-wise, but this will scale up much more faster near the end. And the way that works is kind of like this. So you have a loan that goes, let's see, the interest rate is just forever 9K. And I don't know why I drew it like a cup. 9%. Here it's 2% and 18%. As a bit of a visual. And over the period of the loan, the interest rate will go up. Time. Whereas here it's fixed. And the problem is this little doohickey right here. Because normally, for a loan with interest rates that work against you, they also compound. So what's at first, 109K, then becomes 9% of that, then becomes 9% of that, 9% of that, 9% of that. And if you don't pay off the loan, then it kind of curves ball upwards like this. Where this is the total loan with compounding interest. And this is over time. Whereas this one, it looks a little bit more flat, where it doesn't go up, but then over time it starts to really shoot up. And that is because the low interest rate, any interest rate, especially for compounding interest, like with student loans, or they can be, again, depending on what deal you could swing or find, they're always going to kind of go up like this, even with a fixed loan. But with a variable interest rate, it screws you even harder, especially over time, especially if you don't make off those payments hard and fast early on. And they don't expect you to make those payments hard and fast early on. Because maybe what happens is that also over time, your ability to pay into it increases over time. So, similarly, money earned over time. The amount of money you earn over time, generally, with a college degree, tends to go up, right? Maybe not linearly. Maybe not exponentially, but, maybe linearly, maybe like this, something like that, right? Or maybe a plateau somewhere. Who knows? And so what this does, with the money that you're making, you're able to put more into paying down the loan. So maybe you can only pay a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit more there. And you're able to put more money to pay this off. So then this chart, with only the moderate increase because it has a fixed loan, actually kind of slowly goes down like this. Right? And then that's kind of the hope where you pay off the loan over time. because even though the interest rate is increasing the amount, it only increases the amount that's left over. It doesn't increase the total amount that was given to you initially. It's not saying, oh, you still need to pay 9K every single time. No, it's 9% of maybe what's left. And so because you're able to earn more money over time, then you're able to pay it off over time, and eventually you'll reach 0. That's good. But here, pardon, because this goes so bonkers so fast, what may happen is that your loan only goes up a little bit. Oh, whoops. And then even though you're making a little bit of money, you're paying not... Oh, sorry. You might feel the ability to pay it off really fast, but then it kind of plateaus, and then maybe the interest rate starts to creep up on you and it outpaces how much you make. Because this 18 double-digit 12, 13, 15% interest rate will devastate and increase far faster than your ability to earn money that can outpace it. And that's not good. Now again, that's not always the case, but this did happen in recent history where many private loans were considered predatory and needed to be forgiven because what would happen is people get stuck in the cycle where they would keep paying their loans on time, but because the interest rate kept creeping up to a higher number, then they end up owing more and more and more money. And so this is something that you have to really be careful about, variable interest rate, because this is death. It's really bad. How do I draw a skull? Yeah, so variable interest rates on a loan that you take out for school is a terrible idea, because often the amount that the loan will go up through the interest will outpace any amount of money that you can earn over time, eventually getting you into a debt spiral. So please don't do that. That's bad. Also, there's more to it than that too. So for public loans, they also have these things that happen, like shenanigans in Congress, where maybe a loan can get forgiven. So there's a chance. There's a chance to clear the loan completely. And there's things like the oh geez, public workers, public service, forgiveness, through Congress, or I guess legislature. $30-year forgiveness. And because even if you somehow end up in a terrible situation where your public loan is looking like this, where you feel like you can never pay it off, after 30 years, it can pretty much be forgiven. You're good. As long as you're making payments, even though your income might be too low, if you apply through the right systems to repay it, then you're still in the clear. There's legislative action that can be taken to clear out a loan. I think if you do public service for a set amount of time, you can also have a loan cleared out, as long as it's public through the government. And also, there's deferment as well. Where if maybe you go bankrupt or there's some kind of financial hardship that you experience, you can actually have everything get paused, and you don't have to pay for a set amount of time. And so because of these safety nets that are only under the public loan for student loans, that high interest doesn't really matter. It's okay. Similarly, because of the lack of the safety nets for a private loan for college and the variable interest rate, that's awful. You don't want it. And that's the first example in which interest can work against you. And it is in a way that maybe is not really, I guess, talked about. If anyone does go to higher education, they might just think, oh yeah, I'll just apply for a loan. But you have to be careful to not get tricked into a private loan. And the messy thing is you can also get stuck here because a public loan, you might get tricked into having that paid off, and then you're under the thumb of a private loan. Because what they can do is they could say, we can help you on repayments if you're having trouble paying, and then you're stuck under their system, and then you're not eligible for getting it forgived, you're not eligible for deferment, you're stuck with a private loan now. On the flip side, you cannot have a private loan and become a public loan. You're kind of stuck there. And there's really nothing you can do, unfortunately, unless there's like some great big lawsuit that says, oh, this was a predatory business that you got tricked into paying for your loans, so now we can just have it forgiven, right? Because it was a bad business practice or something. So you got to be very careful about that. For any kind of debt forgiveness program that isn't from a official government website, just be wary. And this is a very big way in which you can get screwed, even by single-digit interest, because it can become double digits and so forth. Now the next, oh geez, we're already halfway. Ooh. The next one, and I'll try to get through this one quickly because I really want to go to the third category, is a personal or a business loan. Let's move here. All right. Personal or busyness loan. Okay. This is basically a loan that you can get out of I guess generally a bank. Yeah, let's throw in a few examples. Let's see, a bank, family, and a shady guy. And let's compare them. So say, for example, you want to get a personal and or business loan for yourself. I guess technically government too. And yeah, you're looking at three options. You're looking at a bank, a family, and a shady guy. So for the bank, you might think, oh, why is it glitching? For the bank, what they'll do is they'll give you a interest rate. And let's say, for example, it's something ridiculous like I don't know, 8%, right? Fixed. And for family, maybe 0% interest because they're nice. And for a shady guy, I don't know, 1 finger a day. I know this is a little unhinged, but bear with me, okay? So if you're looking for a personal business loan and you're looking to say, okay, maybe I'll start a business baking goods. That's cool. And you're gonna start baking some food, and you need a quick infusion of cash for, let's say, $1,000, because cooking equipment is quite expensive. Yeah, I mean the good ones, you know. Maybe you could find something good used, maybe at a yard sale. I'm not sure. But if you're trying to get $1,000, right? And this place is going to charge you 1 finger per year. Per year. APY. No. This is due per year. It's easier that way. Some people might know what APY means, but I want to try to plain language. I'm trying to. I swear, I'm trying to use plain language as hard as I can. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Oh well. Alright. So for the bank, then you kind of know what you're in for, of about 8% that per year. I'm pretty sure it's 80 bucks just by eyeballing it, but let me double check. Yep. So then you're going to owe $80. You're going to owe $0. And you're going to owe one finger if you don't pay off your loan. Now, generally the interest rates for family, if you have a nice, loving, supportive family, and somehow they have $1,000, and they're able to give it to you for 0% interest, yeah, this is the best option. Go bank of mom and or dad, and or aunt or uncle, grandparent, cousin, whoever, right? But generally that's not an option if you're looking at this amount of money, I think. So then you'd probably have to compare the two, and you think, huh, what's more important, 80 bucks or a finger? Generally the 80 bucks is probably the second best option. And then the finger is the worst one. So if you're looking to take out a loan, I highly recommend looking at an accredited institution and not some friend of a friend. Please don't. But also when looking at a bank, what you want to make sure is that you not only pay off the loan over time, but that the amount of money that you'll make overcomes not just the loan amount, but also the amount of interest as it goes. Now, of course, if you're just starting off, maybe you can't. Oh, well, I don't know. You should be able to sell $80 worth of baked goods in a year if you get a $1,000 loan, right? I'd like to think so. I believe in you. If you got it, you can do it. So generally this isn't too bad, right? But this is technically interest that's working against you, and hopefully you're able to figure out an interest loan and a rate and a place that works for you, because here the nice thing is that you can also shop around, because it's not just bank, it's banks, plural. And because it's banks, you can actually look at other banks that maybe you aren't a part of yet or you want to be part of. And so when you're looking at the fine print of what is the interest and how much you're going to be paying over time, then maybe you could have that lowered, maybe like to 6%. And if you don't read it, then it can be high, maybe like 10%. Ugh, that'd be bad. But even then, you shouldn't be afraid to look at a personal or business loan. Technically, this is bad interest because it's working against you. But if you want to invest in yourself in a way that is earnest and that you have a plan already to use the money, you're not just getting the money and then you come up with a plan, you have a plan and then the money, then you should be able to easily offset the interest rate. This is a non-issue. And again, maybe it's not as big of a deal as this, but with these, again, student loans, there's all these forgiveness and deferment options. It's based off your income, it can be, and all that kind of things. With here, it's just, here's a hard loan that you need to have, right? This could be something for maybe a car loans, right? Technically that's a auto loan, but it's also, you would categorize it maybe as a personal loan. It's for you to do things for yourself. Maybe it's for work, maybe it's to start your business as a driver, who knows. But you really want to look around at banks or family, I guess technically. Now that might be in the books or the option for you. But look at a place and shop around. Try to find somewhere that has a low interest rate, so that we could have that work in your favor. And again, I already dropped the point, but to the point I was holding earlier, is that this is much harder to get forgiveness. This is much harder to get deferment. usually they take the money until you have no money and you have to file for bankruptcy. So this is a much more strict and serious, you know, you gotta pay this back kind of thing. So please be ready for that, because it can be very beneficial, but if you recklessly take out a personal or business loan, that can be very bad for you. And then, only 15 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna try to talk about the worst possible thing, and that's credit cards. Credit card debt. Not credit crap. Credit cards. Debt. Alright, so credit cards, or credit card, whatever, and its debt is the most egregious example of debt working, it is the most egregious example of interest working against you. And here's why. Let's say, for example, you have a credit card and it has just a nice, cool 25% interest rate, right? And it most definitely compounds. So 25% compound interest. And let's just say, for example, you use it to buy groceries and gas and just whatever. So whatever thing that you buy one cheeseburger and it's $100. There we go. And then, right, you spend that money, and at the end of the period, then they say, okay, you owe that amount of money, right? And if you do that, you have a couple options. You could pay the minimum amounts, you could pay the interest, you could also just pay the full amount. And the full amount will be, let's say, 100. The interest will be 20. Well, actually, I don't know if they let you pay the interest. That's a good question. Let's just go with minimum amount, right? Those are usually the two big options: minimum amount and full amount. Let's say the minimum amount is $25. And you might think, wow, do I really want to pay $100 or do I want to pay the $25? And if you pay the full amount, then it goes to 0. And if you pay the minimum amount, then next time it's still $100. And then the amount that you have to pay if you don't use your card again would still be 0. But even if you don't use the card again, you'd have to pay $25. And again, this is, I think the compound interest is more like per year. So I guess these time frames would be per year, which maybe isn't realistic. Maybe you're just looking at months. But I guess then it would be, huh? Okay, hold on. Let me undo some of this math. Nah, you know, I'll just keep it as a year. Let's say, for example, you have a year-long credit card. Okay. Point is that even if you don't pay this thing off for a year, you're still gonna be making payments over time, and it's going to add up. Now, it's a ridiculous idea to say, I have a credit card, I only use it for $100 one time, and I don't touch it for 4 years. Fair. That is fine. That's a crazy statement. Let's work with that crazy statement, though. Let's say, for example, you don't pay it off, and you're just sitting there for 4 years. In that 4-year time, then you have paid $100 here, and you paid $100 here. But within those 4 years, you still owe $100, and here you owe nothing. And that's kind of the big thing, because these are small baby numbers with long time frames. Now, if we pump up the numbers and we use a smaller time frame, it actually gets worse, significantly worse. Let's say, for example, we do $100 every month, right? So credit card debt, $100. And there's minimum and full payments. That is not an M. Minimum and full. Okay. So for full, then you go to 100, to 0, to 100. Oh, sorry. You have 100, you pay 100, it equals 0. You have 100, the minus 100. And that equals 0. 100 minus 100 equals 0. And this, let's say, is only per month, right? So month per month, which is about a pay period, right? And so for here, you're constantly spending $100, and then at the end of let's see, that's 1, 2, 3. End of 3 months, you are out $300, but debt also equals $0. Great, awesome, you did it. You're using your credit card as you should. You're using it to build credit. You pay it off every time. You're not using it to get an extension or to get like a mini loan. If you want a loan to pay for something like a $700 car repair, you're actually better off getting a bank loan than you are using a credit card. Okay, like an actual formal bank loan for like $1,000 to pay off a $700 car repair. And that's much better than using a credit card. Cool. Hopefully that's what you're doing. Hopefully you're paying off your credit card every month and you have a debt of 0 and you're just using it just as like money plus, right? But if you're not doing that and you're using your credit card and you're only making minimum payments, right? Let's see how this baller is out of control. So, let's say for example you have $100, but you only do oh geez, what would the minimum pay look like? I think they'd only want it to do it to cancel out the interest per year. So then it would be 100 times 0.25 divided by 12. Maybe only $2 at first. So they owe 98. Okay. Then for the next month, you spend another $100, right? And I should probably put arrows on these to make it more clean. So you have 198. And the minimum payment, it's going to go up a bit. 198.25 divided by 12. Now you're paying $4.12. So you do that. You know, let's just round it to $4. I don't want to do cents right now. Then you owe 194. Okay. And then here, you have 294. Ooh, that's ugly. 294 with a 25% interest rate. Okay. Then you're looking at $6. $288. So here, at the end of 3 months, and let me just try to copy that. Okay. you're only out not a whole lot. You're out $12, right? But your debt, no, that can't be right. It's only $288. Ideally, this kind of evens out, right? And that's if you're doing minimum payments. And so even if you're doing minimum payments, you think it evens out, but it's gonna get worse because you might get sloppy and you might think, oh, I don't need to do any payments, because that's how a credit card is. And the second you don't do any payments, there's gonna be a problem. Because, let's say for example, you don't do any payments and you don't use the card, right? You let it sit for 3 months. Well, let's just do it for 1 month even. If you don't use the card, what am I doing? Then here, you're still at 0. Nothing goes up, you're still even, you're good, because you paid it off every time. But if you have an outstanding debt, then you're going to owe another $6 as a minimum payment, and the amount that you owe is going to go up by an equal amount. So it becomes $288, $294. And again, these might seem like baby numbers, but even in a small time frame, you owe $6 more than you needed to if things were done differently. If it was paid off every month, then you would owe nothing for that 1 month that you didn't have any money. But now that you don't have any money, you owe $6. And again, this is assuming a mildly responsible minimum payment. A wildly irresponsible no payment is worse, because then you get, let's see, it becomes 100. Instead of paying down the plus 2, paying down the 2, the minimum payment, it becomes plus, there you go, 102. And because you owe 102 with no payment, and this is no payment, you're still using the card. This is just pain. Oh, this is just pain. I kind of want to don't do this math, but I gotta. Okay, so then you use another $100, so it becomes 202. And then 202. You get plus 4. Assuming another month of payment that you use for another $100. So you're using $100. You're still using $100, and it becomes $306. And you're not paying for this month again. 306. Then you also owe $6 again. And so instead of you paying off the $300 and only spending $300 and with 0 debt every month, full payment, and instead of doing at least the minimum payment and kind of, you know, technically evening out, but then praying that you don't have to skip a month, your debt and your total amount would still be about $300, and then you could pay off the debt fully, hopefully at some point. If you don't pay anything, then that money adds up, and then not only do you owe that $300 that you spent, but you now owe an extra $12. And that extra $12 That's the power of compound interest not working in your favor, and you slowly getting choked out. Because this is a small add up of $100 a month using a credit card, no payments. This will keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And unfortunately, there's a lot of credit card debt currently. And it's done some things that are bad. One is that people become over-reliant on credit cards and bonuses, and they think, oh, well, maybe the benefits will outweigh this. Nope, they never do. They pretty much never do. Otherwise, it would be bad business for them. Another thing is that I think people are scared of credit cards also because of this compounding interest. But as long as you pay it off fully every time, you're fine. You're fine as long as you pay off your credit card every pay period completely. Minimum payments are okay, but if you're going on minimum payments, then at some point you might get lazy and think, oh, this is not so bad. I'm just paying, you know, $50 a month. Even though you're spending hundreds and hundreds a month, and it keeps going up and up and up. And at some point, it will be such a large amount, because again, there's traps here, right? The trap here, with the paying off full every month, is no trap. The trap here, where if you pay off only the minimum, is that the minimum amount creeps up on you. And will eventually exceed the amount that you would have just paid if you paid off fully eventually. Creeps up and will exceed full payments. Of $100. And then here, you're just pissing away money. Yeah, that's not good. I cannot, again, overstate this enough. Oh, jeez, it's time I gotta go. Okay. If you learn anything from this, is hopefully that interest for student loans, public, loans work in your favor. Blah, 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 blah. Let me start over again. Hopefully, if you learn anything from this, is that public student loans work in your favor by having a lot of forgiveness and deferment programs, even though they might have a higher interest rate than a private loan. Personal or business loans, try to go to the bank of family because they tend to have a 0% interest rate, and a regular bank might have something like a high single-digit interest rate. And if you have to use a credit card, instead of using a credit card to pay off for something like an expensive car repair, just take out a bank loan instead with a lower interest rate and pay that off over a longer period of time than using a credit card where exponential interest can kind of screw you over, and then you end up owing a lot more money in the long run. Okay, that's it. That's what I got. Next time we'll go over things that sound like interest but aren't interest, and yet it's still interesting. I think we're good. All right, time to sign out. Have a good night. I forgot to start the timer. All right, now have a good night.